the next thing I wanted to talk about was children being rough with animals or maybe more aggressive. And again, going to context after a traumatic experience, or even just being disoriented, not in one's home, not in familiar territory, your body is going to instinctually go into a survival mode, and your behavior is going to look like that. So we talked about the flight response. This is the fight response. Okay. So what happens when you're in that stage, that triggered state, is you get really narrow. Your vision gets really narrow, and you are only seeing what's in front of you. And a pet, anything, any situation may feel threatening. And so what might be being acted out is, I'm protecting myself. I'm taking charge, I'm protecting myself. So what comes out as aggressive behavior may actually be defensive behavior being triggered. That's one possibility. The other thing is, culturally, it might mean something different. You talked about the difference between a guard animal and a pet. And so that might just not be something that this particular family understands or is used to. And so the way that they treat the animal is as a service animal, not as a member of the family. And so, yeah, that sounds like a cultural clash. Sounds like something that could be really upsetting in a home, because if you're of the mindset that my pet is part of my family and is being treated badly, and that's not okay with me, that's going to trigger you. That's going to cause some conflict. That's going to be difficult. And again, from picking up on what you said earlier, it seems that the Ukrainian culture is much more direct. Mm-hmm. So just say it. Hey, look, we look at pets differently. Explain it. In our culture, this pet is a member of our family, and we treat it like a member of a family. You may think that's silly. That may not feel right for you. That's different than how you may experience pet ownership in Ukraine. Just wanted you to understand, my take on it. And, just so you get the context, and not, you don't even have to say, so do this or do that or do the other thing, but just, here's where I'm coming from. Wanted to help you understand me a little bit.
If that's the situation, then where you explain that they're part of the family, is there a compromise that's expected here, or a change of behavior? What's the outcome that you're hoping for when you explain that to them?
Yeah, understanding that they understand that, and hopefully you're going to have a guest that will take that to their child or their own behavior and modify their behavior based on what you just told them. And again, try to be direct. Don't say it would be good, or it would be helpful, or you might, or you say directly, what I'm asking is fill in the blank. What I'm asking is you be more gentle with my pet. What I'm asking is, in terms of how they treat their own pet, you're going to have to adjust to that.
Right. So if there is if they're rough or aggressive to their own pets, even though we have laws or we have organizations that say you shouldn't be mistreating animals, we have to respect that it's their dog that they brought over from, or their animal that they brought over, their pet that's come over.
Correct. But if they're breaking a law, that is something you agreed to do, is help them with that. So then that would be a conversation. I understand the laws might be different in Ukraine than they are in the UK. As your host, I'm just letting you know the law in the UK is X. Hmm. And again, no judgment, just information, signposting. Here's where you could find out more about that. But if it's just a matter of style, yeah, then that's something you're just gonna kind of go, yeah, this is one of the things that was hard. when we had a guest, this was one of the things that was difficult.
And it's interesting you were talking about the flight and fight part of it, because I guess the children haven't had a choice here. The parents have made a conscious decision that they want to
That's
come
right.
over, and they brought the children with them, who've then come out of their normal environment and what they're, you know, what's comfortable for them, without, I guess, not without the consent, because we don't need consent, but you know, they've been forced to do this for good reason, but it's trying to get them to understand. So I understand why they may be towards that fight and flight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. The next thing, surprised about the amount of sugar. And that again, that could be household differences. I'm not quite sure if that's cultural or not. This idea of maybe not sitting for a meal, but just kind of grazing through the day or whatever, very different cultural style. That'll help. What'll help, what we spoke about earlier about not having meals together unless, you know, you've been invited or they've been invited. That'll help that. The only other thing I would add to that is if you want to facilitate more healthy eating and you want to have some things around the house, in disordered eating work, we call that yes and yes. So eat the apple and eat the candy bar. Okay, so a bowl of apples, a dish of nuts, you know, some dates, you know, whatever it is that you want, you know, that hits that sweet spot, right? Grapes, whatever, you know, frozen grapes in the freezer, you know, whatever that is, even a gift basket. You know, hey, I was at the grocery store and I bought a bunch of things for us, you know, I bought some things I thought your kids might want to taste. Here's a gift. But again, it's a yes and yes. Let them do what they're doing. And if it, you know, you want to have a positive contribution, you know, you can give it a shot. It may or may not be you know, like acted upon, and that's okay.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm obviously I'm not an expert, but there's research that talks about behavior and the impact of sugar on that behavior. Do you think that could be playing a part in some of the acting out that we might be seeing?
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on there. One is yes, but two is when you're in that triggered state, and your body is running, you know, your physiology has changed. And so your digestion is not normal, which regulates your blood sugar. All of those things are out of whack. And so the craving for sugar is your brain is needing glucose to operate. And so very normal in a stress situation that you want sugar, that you want carbs, you want crisps, you want, you know, those kinds of things, that your body is craving, that is quite common and normal. You know, your body's asking for it. Obviously, a healthier way of doing it, more balanced, better for your hormones, all of those things obviously would be better. But, you know, again, that's not necessarily cognitive. You know, I crave sugar, I eat sugar. And you'll see that with people that are in an anxious state or, you know, post-trauma, anything. So that's quite normal. That's why I say yes and yes. You know, give them, let them do what they're going to do, have the other things there available if you want to. And, you know, that may help them get what they need in a healthier manner, but perfectly common reaction to a state of stress is to have that kind of, you know, cravings.
Well, hopefully the videos that you were saying about earlier that get them back into a more calm.
Yeah. So let me mention that, because I think we did that pre-tape. So we are working on a series of videos that will be available in English and Ukrainian. We just talked about having it subtitled into Russian as well, because we have a lot of Russian speakers as well. That's all the goal. And that is being produced locally in the Bracknell area. But what we do have available right now is playlists of various things that can be helpful that you can see on the To Be Known channel. One of those things is the Mindful Minute, which is just a 1 minute of a scene, sounds, sights, a gentle breeze in the woods with birds and insects and, that kind of thing. And what that does by just sitting there, it's called informal mindfulness, and just sitting there looking at that and just paying attention, observing, no judgment, no thoughts, probably an unfamiliar place, so no triggering. And it's just, your breathing slows, your concentration goes off, away from the thing that's causing you anxiety into something that's just nature, and you connect with it, and your heartbeat slows, your breathing slows down, and your physiology slows. And so, yes, those are available on the To Be Known channel in the mindfulness playlist, as well as sprinkled into some of the other playlists as well. You'll see it on the host playlist and the Ukrainian National playlist as well. So lots of ways to find that. Good for hosts, as we talked about, who are, having all these things going on in their home. And I knew it was the right thing to do, and I thought I understood, and it's exactly what I thought, or it's nothing like I thought, but now I'm actually in it. We talked about discipline in the pre-talk as well, and how to handle discipline of someone else's child. And again, with respect, either there is an agreement between yourself and your guest in terms of how you want to handle that. That needs to be discussion. Again, each household may have different agreements. Each host may have a different level of comfort about, am I okay to discipline someone else's child? And each guest may have a different level of comfort, regardless of culture, if that's okay. I know, traveling in the Germanic countries, if you're on a bus and there's a kid misbehaving, someone's going to discipline the kid. If that were to happen in England, that would be a real problem. So there are cultural aspects of that. They call it the cultural contract. You need some kind of contract within your home about that. And again, be direct, noticing this is going on. We haven't discussed how we want to handle that. What are your thoughts? What's comfortable for you? Here's what's comfortable for me. What's comfortable for you? Let's come up with how we want to do that. But ultimately it is it is your decision how you want your child disciplined. It is their decision how they want their child disciplined. And that's just, it's how you come up with that agreement. You may disagree with how they do it. That's okay. That's one of the things that might be hard about this scenario.
There might have been one more, which is just around bedtimes, I think.
Oh, right. I didn't talk about that. Bedtime. So again, what's the cultural contract in your home? So if it's disturbing, if your kids go to bed at 8 o'clock on a school night, and their kids go to bed at 11 o'clock on a school night, there needs to be respect for the one who goes to bed earlier. That's just roommates, right? So maybe what needs to happen is, again, a conversation. It's been a month, it's been 2 months, let's regroup, let's talk about things. I see that we have different bedtimes for our children. I'm going to ask that we, let's say, quiet the house by 8. So everyone in their own spaces by 8, out of the common spaces. And then they do their thing, you do your thing, but the house is quiet. however they want to handle keeping their children quiet till 11. If they want to keep their kids up till 11, they can keep their kids up to 11. That's fine.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's that, just summarizing, it sounds like it's the difference between, this was my expectation with a little bit of knowledge. Now we've had our time, honeymoon period is over. We've got another 3-4 months, maybe 5 months, depending on when your guests arrived. What's working, what's not working. Let's revisit what's not working and come up with something that works for the guest and the host. Let's try that out. If we find that's not working a month from now, then we say, okay, well, we tried that, and maybe we need to tweak it a little bit. Or how is that working for you? This is how it's working for us. But, just keep, it's like a marriage, right?
Communication,
Yeah, you just keep readjusting, like, I thought it was going to be great that we spent all our time together. Maybe that's not so great. Maybe it'd be good to have a little time apart. We just keep adjusting as we go on. And I guess the biggest thing that I want to say is it's going to be different in each situation, so don't feel badly if your friend who's hosting is having a completely different experience than you are. Because we're not just dealing with cultures, we're dealing with personalities, we're dealing with different levels of resilience to trauma, we're dealing with different home life situations, different relationships with, interpersonal relationships within the families. We're dealing with who's, what have I lost? Have I lost anything? Have I lost everything? Am I in grief? Am I in a trauma response? Do I have someone from home calling me every day, keeping me in the battle? Every situation is going to be different. And, if I have a difficult kid in the US and I bring that kid to England, I have the same difficult kid.
Yeah. They've still got whatever was going on beforehand.
Exactly.
That they bring over as well. Yeah.
So I think that covers our questions for today.
Brilliant. It's been so informative, very educational, and I'm sure, well, I'll certainly be taking some of them back and having a chat, but not in inconvenient English at all.
Wonderful. That's a good way to end. I just want to say thanks everyone for listening. If you would like to subscribe, please hit the button. There's so many resources there that could be helpful. Hope you use them. And my husband would tell me to say, and smash the like button.